At 6:12 on a Tuesday morning in the Arabian Sea, the USS Abraham Lincoln C-2D Hawkeye detects the first 60 contacts emerging from the Iranian coastline to the north. And the crew of the most powerful aircraft carrier in the world begins what they believe is a drone engagement. They are right about what it is. They are completely wrong about what it means. The Shahed-136 is Iran's most produced weapon of this conflict. A cheap, slow, propeller-driven kamikaze drone that costs approximately $20,000 to build and has been falling out of Iranian skies by hundreds since February 28. The strike group has defeated Shahed swarms before. The procedure is established. The engagement geometry is familiar, and the Aegis combat systems on the three escort destroyers USS Mitchell, USS Bulkley, and USS Nitsa begin building intercept solutions before the Hawkeye has finished tagging all 60 contacts. The first SM-2 interceptor launches from Mitchell at 0614 and destroys its target cleanly at 6 nautical miles. Then another. The engagement ice running exactly as every drill has prepared the crew to expect. What nobody in the strike group is watching at 0614 is the southern sector because nothing is there. 6 Iranian Thunder-class fast attack boats running dark and silent 22 miles south of the formation. Engine is throttled back to bare minimum. Radar off. Communications off. Invisible tow-vary sensor in the strike group. They have been in position since 0430. They have been waiting for 94 minutes. They are carrying 12 NOR anti-ship missiles between them, and they are going to stay exactly where they are until the moment is right. The moment is not right yet. There are still 200 interceptor missiles in the strike group's vertical launch cells. That number needs to reach 0 first. At 6:19, the eastern wave appears. .70 Shahed drones emerging from a different bearing, different range, spreading across the eastern horizon in a loose formation that forces USS Bulkley and USS Nitsa to shift their Aegis targeting away from the northern wave. Now 2 threat axes are demanding interceptors simultaneously, and the expenditure rate doubles. The count in the vertical launch cells drops faster, still manageable, still within parameters. The crew works the problem with the calm efficiency of professionals who have done this before and are not yet afraid. At 6:28, the western wave appears. 70 more drones from the third axis, completing a picture that has been 47 minutes in the making. 200 drones total. 3 axes, 3 destroyer crews, each managing their own threat sector. The Abraham Lincoln in the center watching her escorts fight in 3 directions at once. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Torres has been the tactical action officer in the Abraham Lincoln's Combat Information Center since 0545. And she has been watching the interceptor inventory on her secondary display through every minute of the engagement with a focus that has nothing to do with the drones themselves. The drones are being handled. What Torres is watching is the rate at which they are being handled. The number of SM-2s expended per contact. The projected depletion curve, the point on her timeline where the vertical launch cells reach 0. She ran the projection the moment the western wave appeared, and the number it gave her made her set down her coffee and not pick it up again. They are flying patterns specifically engineered to be shot down as expensively as possible. Every Shahed asteroid costs the strike group 1 SM-2 interceptor worth approximately $2 million and 1 slot in a vertical launch cell that cannot be reloaded at SIA. 1 drone absorbed, 1 interceptor expended, 1 cell emptied, multiplied across 200 contacts, spread across 3 axes over 47 minutes until the number in the cells reaches 0, at exactly the moment something else arrives from Theon direction nobody has been watching. Torres understands what she is looking at with the particular clarity that comes from seeing a thing you cannot unsee. This is not an attack. This is a question with one answer. How long does it take to empty a carrier strike group's magazine? Tonight, the answer is 47 minutes. She gets on the circuit tow the air defense commander immediately and lays out the numbers. He looks at the interceptor curve. He looks at the drone patterns. He sees it in the same moment. He goes to 5th Fleet for authorization to change engagement protocol. Stop spending SM-2S at range. Shift to phalanx close-in weapon system. Let the drones get inside 2 mi before engaging them with the 20 guns. Preserve the remaining interceptors for the real threat that is coming. The authorization request is legitimate and the logic is sound, but authorization requires a chain of approvals that moves at the speed of bureaucracy, while the engagement moves at the speed of mathematics. The Aegis fire control computers on 3 destroyers are assigning interceptors automatically faster than any human override can stop them. And by the time the authorization comes back, the interceptor count is at 11%. It hits 0 at 0658 and 53 seconds when the last SM-2 destroys the final Shahed in the western wave, and the drone engagement is officially over, and the Arabian Sea is quiet again for exactly 8 seconds. At 0701, the 6 fast boats 22 miles to the south go to full power simultaneously. Their engines roar to life after 94 minutes of silence. Their radars activate. Their fire control systems lock onto the Abraham Lincoln's position. At 0701 and 44 seconds, all 6 boats fire. 12 NOR anti-ship missiles drop to sea skimming altitude and accelerate toward the carrier at Mach 0.8. Time to impact on the nearest ship. 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Interceptors remaining in the entire strike group. 0. The 8 contacts appear on Torres's display like a verdict. The Noor anti-ship missile is Iran's primary naval strike weapon. A sea skimming cruise missile derived from the Chinese C-82 design, capable of flying at wavetop altitude to avoid radar detection until the last possible moment with a 165 kilograms warhead designed to penetrate a warship's hull before detonating. Against a carrier strike group with functioning interceptors, it is a manageable threat. Against a carrier strike group with empty launch cells, it is something else entirely. 12 missiles, 6 minutes 40 seconds. No SM-2S, no SM-6S, nothing in the vertical launch cells at all. The phalanx close-in weapon systems on the destroyers can engage targets inside 2 miles, but 12 Sekming missiles arriving simultaneously from multiple bearings will saturate the phalanx engagement capacity before half of them are down. The math is not survivable through conventional means. Torres has one asset that Iran's planners spent 2 years preparing this operation and never once considered a weapon. The EA-18G Growler has been orbiting at 22,000 feet above the formation since 0545, 1 hour and 16 minutes of continuous flight. Its mission throughout the entire drone engagement has been passive electronic surveillance. Not jamming, not attacking, simply listening. Building a complete picture of every Iranian radar frequency, every encrypted communication, every data link signal active in the theater across every minute of the engagement. The Growler's electronic warfare officer, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, had been doing this with the focused patience of someone who understood that information gathered quietly at 22,000 foot might matter more than anything the strike group's weapon systems could do. And 40 minutes into the drone engagement, when the pattern of how those drones were flying became impossible to misread, Webb had begun building something specific from the signals data he was accumulating. The Noor missile is not a dumb weapon. It does not simply fly toward where the target was when it launched and hope the target hasn't moved. Throughout its entire flight, it maintains a continuous encrypted data link connection with the fire control system on the boat that fired it, receiving real-time updates about the target's position, course, and speed. The boat tracks the carrier continuously and feeds that data to the missile in flight so the weapon can correct its course as the carrier maneuvers. This data link is the missile's connection to reality, the signal that tells it where to go. The data link operates on a specific encrypted frequency using an authentication protocol that only the launching platform is supposed to be able to generate. Only the boat that fired the missile can talk to it. That is how the system was designed. That is what the engineers who built it intended. What they did not intend was for an American electronic warfare aircraft to spend 47 minutes passively collecting every signal their fire control system transmitted, building a complete map of the encryption pattern and authentication protocol from the data alone until the moment the missiles launched and the data link activated. And Webb had everything he needed to generate a signal that all 12 missiles would accept as genuine. Webb had been ready for 19 minutes before the fast boats fired. He had the frequency. He had the authentication pattern. He had a targeting coordinate format. He had built a spoofed Newer guidance signal that would pass every check the missile's onboard computers would run against it. He needed only one thing, for Torres to tell him where to send them. Torres looked at her tactical display. 6 fast boats, 22 miles south, 12 missiles in the air, 0 interceptors. She did not hesitate. At 7:03 and 11 seconds, 2 minutes and 29 seconds after the missiles launched, for minutes and 11 seconds before the first one reached its target, the Growler transmitted a spoofed Noor data link signal on the exact encrypted frequency the Iranian fast boats were using. The transmission lasted 0.8 seconds. Now, it contained new targeting coordinates for all 12 missiles simultaneously. Not the Abraham Lincoln's position, but the Jeep's coordinates of the 6 fast boats sitting 22 miles south of the strike group, the boats that had spent 94 minutes waiting in the dark for this moment. The boats that had fired them. All 12 missiles received the updated targeting data in the same 0.8 seconds and did exactly what they were engineered to do. They trusted it. Their onboard computers accepted the authentication, processed the new coordinates, and began calculating course corrections. And all 12 banked away from the Abraham Lincoln in the same second. A simultaneous turned visible on every tactical display in the formation as 12 red threat lines that had been pointing north suddenly curved and reoriented south. Inside the Iranian fast boats, the fire control displays showed the same thing from the opposite direction. 12 outbound missile tracks bending away from the carrier and curving back toward the boats that had launched them. The commanding officer of the lead boat understood what had happened before his crew did. He had 94 minutes of patience and perfect planning behind him and 4 minutes and 11 seconds in front of him and absolutely nothing he could do with either. The boats went to maximum speed, 42 knots in 6 different directions. At 42 knots in 4 minutes and 11 seconds, a Thunder-class fast attack boat covers exactly 2.9 nautical miles from its firing position. A new missile's terminal radar seeker activates at 4 nautical miles from its target coordinates and searches the surrounding ocean for the largest radar return it can find. At 2.9 nautical miles of separation, a fast attack boat is well inside that search radius, and its twin diesel engines and aluminum hull produce a radar return that the missile seeker identifies and locks in 0.3 seconds. The first missile impacted at 0707 and 19 seconds. A direct hit amid ships that detonated the boat's fuel load, and the two new missiles still in their launch tubes in a secondary explosion. Large enough to be visible from the Abraham Lincoln's flight deck 22 miles away. A white flash followed by a rising column of black smoke that climbed 200 feet before the wind broke it apart. The second and third impacts came 14 seconds apart. South Fourth chased the fastest boat in the formation, the one whose commander had turned directly away and was running flat out with every knot the engines could give. And the missile's terminal seeker found it at 3.1 nautical miles and closed the remaining distance in 11 seconds. The fifth and sixth impacted in rapid succession on boats that had trajectories scatter perpendicular to the threat axis. The seventh selected between two boats that had tried to use each other's radar interference and locked onto the larger return. The eighth lost terminal lock briefly when its target dropped into a wave trough at low altitude, reacquired the contact 11 seconds later when the boat crested the next wave and impacted at 0708 and 44 seconds. 6 boats, 12 missiles, 5 minutes and 33 seconds from Webb's transmission to the last detonation. In the Abraham Lincoln's Combat Information Center, Torres watched the southern contacts disappear from the tactical display, one by one until the display showed nothing but blue formation symbols and open ocean. The strike group had not fired a single defensive weapon against the missile salvo. 12 nor missiles that Iran had spent 2 years designing a perfect trap to deliver had turned around and destroyed every boat that launched them. Guided by a signal built from 47 minutes of patient listening by one aircraft orbiting overhead that the Iranian planners had watched the entire time and never once considered a threat. The plan had been perfect. 200 drones to drain every interceptor in the formation, executed with a precision that worked exactly as designed. Every SM-2 expended, every cell emptied, the carrier left completely defenseless. At the exact moment 12 missiles arrived from the one direction, nobody was watching. It had taken 2 years to build and 47 minutes to execute, and it had failed in 5 minutes and 33 seconds. Because the one thing the planners had not modeled in 2 years of preparation was what an American electronic warfare officer could build from 47 minutes of signals they never intended him to collect. Torres wrote her engagement log entry at 0710. Threat defeated, no damage, no casualties, magazine exhausted, full reload required. Then she added one line underneath that her commanding officer kept in the final report without changing a word. Iran spent 2 years learning how to empty our magazine. West spent 47 minutes learning how to use theirs. The Abraham Lincoln never changed course. Flight operations resumed at 0720. The 22 miles to the south, 6 fires burned on the surface of the Arabian Sea, where 6 fast boats heads out in the dark for 94 minutes, waiting for the perfect moment. The fires burned for 2 hours. By the time the last one went out, the carrier was already past the horizon, and the Arabian Sea was flat and calm and silent, as if the whole thing had never happened at.